point at Brenda. Do you know who Brenda is? Oh, shit.
Hey guys, it's Maggie and Lisa again. How are you doing? So awesome to see our pages growing. And thank you guys for liking our pages on Facebook and on YouTube. I know some of you had asked if we're on Spotify. As of right now, we're not, but we may in the future. All right, so today we're going to touch on Senator John Humphrey's house that is located in Orland Park, Illinois. Just a little background history on Senator John Humphrey. Senator John Humphrey was first elected to the House of Representatives in 1870 and to the Illinois Senate in 1886. The town of Orland Park was incorporated in 1892, and Humphrey was elected its first mayor. He held that position until his death in 1914. His home was the second home built in that town in 1881. His son maintained it until 1987. The National Park Service recognized it with a listing on the National Register of Historic Places on August 1st of 2005.
This particular house was, of course, given to the Historical Society of Orland Park by Senator John Humphrey's youngest son, I believe, John. It was handed over, and the only families that lived there was the Humphreys. Like, no other family ever lived in that house. And from what I know and from what the history shows is that the house was kind of a sad place to be. Senator John Humphrey and his first wife had a few tragedies. I believe they had, I don't remember how many kids they had, but at least 4 of them had died in the house. We are unsure of what ways they died, but they were small, one as young as 11 months old. So they had a lot of death. His first wife was found dead in the dining room. We don't know why. Back then, they didn't have any death certificates, right, Lisa? At least that I knew of. So they, we didn't know how they died. And just after about 6 months or 6 weeks, very, very soon after she died, Senator John Humphrey married his assistant and secretary.
Oh.
So right after that, they made their home in the house, and they had John, the youngest, who sold the house or gave the house to the Historical Society. Ever since then, they've had different accounts of hauntings there. They say John is there, who is still a very stern man as a spirit, and his second wife, I believe her name was Ida, was the same way. She was very stern and known as kind of like an evil stepmother type in her day. They're saying that there was no pictures of her and her stepchildren, but they did see pictures of her and the child that her and John both had together. So none of her and the other kids, but they did find pictures of her and her biological child. So those are two of the spirits that are known of. They do tend to see some of the kids or feel some of the kids. There's if you go in the house, which we did, we went in the house, we saw there was a room dedicated to the kids. Like, there was a little rocking horse and dolls and stuff, very old-timey toys in there, which was really creepy. When we went to investigate, one of our friends, Ed Shanahan, was there, who guided our tour, and as well as his team was there. And we did a small investigation where we did hear knocks. We heard voices coming through our equipment. We heard names coming through. It was a phenomenal investigation. And I don't know if you guys remember in the last podcast that we had, we were talking about how you can still get in contact with spirits in the daytime, in the nighttime, in the light, in the dark. And if you take a look at this particular investigations, you can see us, we're all, I believe it was the attic, right, Lisa? If you don't, I don't know if you remember, in the upstairs attic area or in an upstairs room, you can see that we're all there trying to contact the spirit, and it's complete light. We have light on, and you can hear like a real loud knock where everyone just, you can see in the video, everyone like turns their head to see what the heck that was. So we got some really good evidence there.
Yes, you're right about that, Maggie. We had some really good evidence, and what I loved about the investigation is that we went with a group of people, and we also took a skeptic. So it's really hard to make up things or just lie. So that's one investigation that I really, really enjoyed. Just being in with a group of people, being with a skeptic. And we did hear some noise in that area upstairs that was unexplainable. We all looked back where that sound came from. There's a window, and there's no way anybody could have knocked on it from the outside because there's nothing leading to that window. There are no stairs. And you can see Maggie on film. She's just looking like, what the heck? What was that?
Kind of looking around the place. And then all of a sudden we hear that knock, and you see everyone's head kind of turn to where they hear the noise coming from. It was a really cool piece of evidence that we caught at that same time. And another thing that we did for the first time as new, in paranormal investigators, if you remember, was we got a chance to do the dowsing rod session with Ed. That was the first time we ever used those. And I mean, it was crazy, the responses that we were getting. Like, we would ask it to point to certain people, and like one rod would go towards that person. It was really cool.
I agree, Maggie. You had the rods in your hands. And I know that all of us, I'm sure even Edward, weren't expecting you to ask those certain questions, because it's usually yes and no. Whenever you, if you have ever handled the rods, there's no way you can make them move, because the way they're designed, you hold them from like a metal cylinder, and even if you were to turn those cylinders, it will not move the rods. If it crosses, that was a yes. If they grow apart, that's a no. So when Maggie held those rods, she asked questions out of the yes and no that none of us thought you would have asked, Maggie.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm filming, I'm like, whoa, let's see what it does, and I'm like, yeah, that's why she's the best paranormal investigator out there that I've been with. So anyhow, so Maggie had asked, point to our skeptic, and the left rod only moved, and it went right in the direction of our skeptic. Our skeptic was like, and I know I made a comment like, are you still a skeptic? And then Maggie also asked, point to Edward.
John, can you point at Ed?
He knows me by name, huh? We do it.
Point at Brenda. Do you know who Brenda is?
At that point, Ed was asking questions to John, and he was saying something. He was asking yes or no questions, I believe. So I just kind of chimed in and said, hey, John, point to Ed. And then it points to him, and he's like, oh, so now you know me by my name. He was real surprised about it. Yeah, that evidence was really cool, because you can tell that it was actually pointing to these particular people. One person was on one side of the room, the other person was on the other side of the room. So if there was like a breeze or something going on, there was no way to move these rods in a direction deliberately. So it was a really, really cool experience, especially the first time handling this kind of paranormal equipment that we had. I remember when we did a small tour beforehand with the caretakers. They were an older couple. We did a small tour. And during this tour, I don't know if you remember, Lise, the ghost detector that I had in my purse started going off by itself. At first, I was like, what is that? We were all kind of just looking around, like, what the heck is that? And then you can hear the caretaker, that's not me. And then I'm like, oh, that's my ghost detector. And I forgot that it was even in my purse at that time, and it was off. There is no way, like, if you know us as paranormal investigators, we take all of our batteries out. We turn our stuff off before we do an investigation because we don't want any kind of interference before we actually use the equipment. You can see that in a lot of our videos that we actually put the stuff together at that moment. So when that went off, I was like surprised. I forgot it was even in there because, you know, we were just doing the tour. We didn't have any equipment out. We didn't have any recorders out or anything like that. And it just went off by itself. We were standing in the living room, and this living room is the same living room that they use to host funerals and body viewings of the people that died in the house. So it was crazy. It was a crazy experience at that time.
I forgot, Maggie, that it was off. Now that you refreshed my mind, I remember you said you did turn it off, and all of a sudden it started going off. The tour guide was like, that's not me. And you're like, it's my ghost.
He was an older gentleman, so he didn't know like what the heck was going on. You know, he knew that we were there for paranormal investigation, but at this particular time, he was just showing us around the house. He wasn't like, you know, expecting anything. So that was a really cool catch that we found.
Right. And he did say that one day he caught some kind of shadow when he was in the basement. Another gentleman there said on film that he actually seen Senator John Humphrey, I believe it was on the second floor. So he actually seen his face.
Yeah, he said that he was doing something and he turned around and he was right in his face. Like Senator John Humphreys was right in his face, this close to him. And he said he's never ran. He's never ran out of the house so fast. It was funny.
Also did a session with the lights off. Somebody was thrown down.
We go to the staircase, which seems to be a hot spot in the house, and Lisa provokes.
Why did you push this little kid down the stairs? That makes you a big old bully.
Did you hear that knock?
Yep, I heard a little movement after I said that. That's a cruel punishment to do to anybody.
Did you throw them down the stairs because they weren't your blood child? That's not right.
I'm right here. Are you gonna push me too? And we used I think it was Edward Shanahan's spirit box, but the responses were amazing that we were getting because they were saying, I think mother, they were saying just relevant responses in accordance to what was going on in that house or what had went on in that house. We went into the room that had a horse. There's a riding little horse. There was a doll in the bed that looked a little spooky. We all came in there with Edward, and he turned on the spirit box, and they kept calling out my name. It sounded like Lisa at least 3 to 4 times.
Horse. Oh, horse. It said horse.
Is there a spirit in this horse? What's your name?
Lisa. It said Lisa. Again?
And mind you, I'd never been to that home prior to this investigation. So they may have heard someone saying Lisa, and then they started responding and saying Lisa.
It said it again. It said it again.
You want me to communicate to you? Are you a good spirit or an evil spirit?
I just remember that basement was so like creepy. Like we went down there and there was spider webs everywhere.
They got to get on the one who maintains the house. They have to get on him to get all them cobwebs.
Is the house still open?
Yes. If you're interested in a tour, contact Edward Shanahan. You can just Google him. You can find him, and he is doing tours and all that still. Edward Shanahan also brought us into this one room that looked like a poltergeist room. He told us that there was some kind of crack that went in the wall, and weirdly, it went through the frame of a picture, but the picture inside was intact, but the surrounding area, including the picture frame, was cracked.
Looks like something right out of The Exorcist. When I seen it, I said, oh my God, she's looking at it right now. Did you see it?
The picture?
Yeah, look at the picture, but look at the crack. It runs across the wall, through the frame, out the other end, and it keeps on the wall.
It just looked like, Edward said, it looked like a scene out of the poltergeist, and that was a weird place to be in. But as he was saying, he believes that was the evil stepmom, because she, like Maggie said earlier, there were no pictures that she took with the other children. It was just the child she had would send her, Humphrey. So we believe there's a lot of negative energy in that room.
It was crazy that they got together only a few weeks or months after the first wife died of a mysterious cause that we still don't know about. And then the poor kids died young too. And I can just imagine the sadness that the first wife, the mother of the kids that died, felt. So that's probably, one of the things that you can feel in the house. Like you can feel the sadness, and that's, most likely a reason why the spirits still linger.
Some believe the White Madonna of Bachelor's Grove Cemetery is Senator John Humphrey's first wife. Some claim to see her carrying a child. Is there a connection between Senator John Humphrey's first wife and also a dead child or children? Tell us what you think below, guys.